Have you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, or are you on the road there?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really beyond what I imagined 15 years ago.
In the beginning, tell me what that was like. What was the catalyst, the push in the beginning to get you to launch Make Way for Books?
My family relocated to Tucson from Reno, Nevada, where I was on the faculty in the College of Education at the University of Nevada, Reno. And when we came here, I answered a listing to volunteer at a preschool downtown and saw that they did not have books and appropriate books or quality children's books. And during that time, I was doing some research on the internet and found a program in Chicago called Hug a Book, and thought that's exactly what we need to do in Tucson. And I started to explore the different child care centers and preschools and discovered that most of them did not have quality, age-appropriate books for very young children. And my background being in education, I just know that that's so important for a children's future success in school.
So that was the start.
Right, right.
And today, well, tell me what the philosophy is. I mean, I know it goes far beyond just making sure you have appropriate books. What's the philosophy of Make Way for Books?
Really, the philosophy is that very young children need to have opportunities to fall in love with books and reading, that they're going to want to become readers if they see it as an enjoyable activity when they're very young, even when they're babies. And so the more parents and grown-ups can share books with very young children, the more they're going to enjoy that activity, and the bond that the adult has with the child is going to transfer to the love of books and reading. What we really try to do is show parents how easy it is and how fun it is. And we don't want to say you should read to your child every day, but you should want to read to your child every day and play with books, play with language. If parents have limited literacy themselves, we show them how to share the story through the pictures, talk about the pictures, talk about how the animals might be feeling, or how the kids might be feeling, or how the family might be feeling. And also just singing to children, just children's songs, those kinds of things, once you think of it, have almost all of them rhyme. And rhyming is a great predictor of children being successful in learning how to read.
Explain that to me. I don't understand.
Children that understand the concept of rhyming are at a much greater advantage when they actually learn how to read formally, because they can hear the sounds. They hear that words end the same way. Fairly recent brain research has shown that almost practically 90% of a baby's brain growth happens in the first 3 to 5 years of life. And what that means is that connections are being made, synapses are being created in the baby's brain. And so if they're not being sung to, talked to, read to, babies will not develop the aptitude for future learning. Those connections need to be hardwired, and they are hardwired at that very early age. So that's why it's just a critical stage.
I remember reading about some children in Eastern Europe who were well cared for. They were in orphanages, but they were never read to, sang to. They were fed, and they were, and their growth development, even after the age of 5, when they were adopted by loving, wonderful families, they just never could catch up. Does that fall in line with what you've read, with your research, with your line of thinking?
Absolutely. And we show a graphic of two babies' brains. A baby that is from a very stimulating environment, and then another baby who has not been talked to or sung to or held. And it's a stark difference. It's really eye-opening for parents to see. And of course they want their baby to have a full brain versus one that just doesn't have very many connections, because it will determine their aptitude for learning later in life. And I just think if anybody, you don't have to be a parent, but if you have the opportunity to observe babies, it's amazing. You just follow what they're looking at. They'll catch on to something in the environment, or they'll turn to hear a sound. And that's because through their senses, they're learning all about their world. We work very closely with several different partners in the community, and these are agencies that do provide parent education and that kind of thing. So many very young children live in families that have relatives that might be living in the home, that kind of thing. But the idea is that everybody can read to baby. Baby needs to see that men read aloud, that women read aloud, and when they see their siblings reading to them, they look up to them. And so it's just real powerful for everyone to be doing that activity with very young children.
Secondary to the primary, of course, is getting a child to fall in love with reading, but there's a bonding process that's going on, isn't there? When children, it's an intimate kind of activity you do one-on-one. Is that a secondary advantage, that something else that's happening when you read to your child?
I think it goes both ways. I mean, I think the child is loving the activity. They're getting the parents' full attention. That's so important for parents to just really give their child every bit of their attention when they're sharing books. And so the child is loving the adult and they're loving the activity. And a lot of what we do is help parents know which types of books are appropriate for babies, for toddlers, for preschoolers. From an educational background, we know that individuals pursue what they're successful at. And if very young children enter kindergarten already behind, already frustrated because they don't know as many of the letters as other kids, they don't know how to hold a book, they're already frustrated. And so it's very possible and likely that they're not going to catch up, as Jenny mentioned, and that they're going to possibly drop out of high school. They might become involved in crime. And it's just a cycle that really needs to be broken at the very beginning. Two things. One is that there is a direct correlation between preventing illiteracy and promoting early literacy. There's a direct correlation. And a well-known children's author named Mem Fox from Australia says that if every parent read aloud to their children every single day, that we could wipe out illiteracy in a generation's time. And so I think that that's true, and we would love to see that happen. The other thing is, no matter where we are, what we're doing out there for Make Way for Books, we always say that literacy is the key to success in school and in life.
It is. Anything else that you think we should touch on, we should talk about? We've got this video. Any messages out there to the community? Anything else that you know I may have missed?
Probably not that would be appropriate for filming. Just kidding.
Okay. Why are you so passionate about this? What is your passion? Why care so much? Because I look at both of you and I see this undying, unyielding passion for what you do. Why?
My passion comes from having two beautiful daughters, and when they were very young, I knew that they had every advantage. And I read to them all the time, I sang to them, but I just want that for every child. And I just keep coming back to the blessings that I've had in my life and really want to use my skills and abilities to make a difference for other children as well. Make Way for Books is not about children reading, learning to read at the youngest age possible. That's not what we're about at all. We're about helping to build that foundation with those readiness skills of how to hold a book, how to rhyme, how to identify letters, and that letters do mean something, and then ultimately comprehension. And you can do that, I mean, children do that before they learn how to read. They understand that stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's very important for comprehension. So those are just fun things that parents can do. They can retell the story. They can make puppets out of paper sacks, anything around the home, to use language to make up stories and use their imaginations. So we really just want parents and grown-ups to enjoy sharing books with young children.
What's the most creative things you've ever experienced where the objective was met in a very unusual way? Is there anything that comes to mind? I'm kind of picking your brains now. Anything that a parent did, that a grandparent did to get the reading going, to get those synapses going?
This may not be what you're looking for, but at one of our very first centers where we provided them with a collection of books, we provided them in English and Spanish or bilingual titles, because part of our philosophy is that children should be read to in their first language first. And when a child picked up a book and understood that that little red sticker meant that it was in Spanish, he said, "Oh good, now my Nana can read to me." And so that was like, wow, that was a great result. At Make Way for Books, we have a huge focus on providing programming. Our overhead is very low. We've been very fortunate to have space available to us at a very low cost. I'm a full-time volunteer, so we don't have my salary to consider, but we do keep a very low administrative percentage in our operating budget, and our hearts are in it, and we just are there to provide programs and account for every dollar that we get from the community.